I want to congratulate you on an incredible documentary. What research this must have taken. I mean, you guys go all the way back to 1888.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of research done by Jim and myself, and our writers Irv and EP, Paul and Christine. You kind of start with an empty template, and you're going to tell the story of the history of nudity in movies. You want it to be not exploitive. We don't want a breast fest, but we want people to learn something, and it really is a history from the 1880s, as you mentioned. With Edward Muybridge, the first film ever was showing nudes, and it was important for us to basically do this chronologically, a history of, in a fun and interesting way where people were going to learn something, not just see, 2 hours of nudity. And I think the way we handled it, going through the teens and the 20s and all the debauchery and all the nudity that existed before there was a Hays Code, was important to let people know about. And then, the code, the production code that a lot of people don't even know existed, was important for us. And all the way through the 60s to the MPA and the teen sex comedies and the women in prison genre. There was a lot to cover, but I think we handled it in a cool chronological way that, people are going to learn a lot.
Yeah, I think you did. Jim, was there anything in the movie that surprised you?
Well, the big surprise to me, and I think to a lot of people that see this documentary, is even if you know a lot about film, I think you'd be surprised how much nudity there was in the 1915 to 1920s. I mean, I think of Audrey Munson and Annette Kellerman and Clara Bowen Wings, which was a big won an Oscar, and she showed her breasts. Like, who'd have thunk in 1927 someone was showing their breasts? Or even the Hedy Lamarr complete nudity in 1932. Now, this, of course, was all pre-Hays Code. That, we get big in this in the documentaries, that kind of changed things. But to me, a big shocker for people will be the amount of nudity that was going on in the 1920s that probably people don't even know about.
I think, knowing the history of film, the more that artists are suppressed or tried to be suppressed, the more they find ways to do it. I remember reading a bio on Cecil B. DeMille, who you guys pointed out had a few fetishes, and they turned to the Bible, for those particular scenes.
Yeah, even with gorillas, I think that's a sign of the cross you're referring to, right? Or a milk bath. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all the way into from Cecil B. DeMille. Then you look at Howard Hughes, another filmmaker, finding ways to sort of break the code or go against the code, and it was important for us to include him, or Russ Meyer, for that matter, that a lot of these directors that probably started with, D.W. Griffith or Cecil B. DeMille, to the Russ Meyers, were finding ways to go against the code and make these nudie cuties and monster nudie movies where, we were still able to show nudity in film.
And those Corman titillating films, The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini and things like that were, drive-in films as well, but they all sold sex, to sell tickets.
I was surprised by, and this is something I learned, that drive-ins were showing movies like Blood Feast and Vixen, and some of these films that contained a lot of nudity. Joe Dante points out some of them in the documentary, that the drive-in, Alice in Wonderland as an example, the Bill Osco movie that contained a lot of nudity, was shown in drive-ins. And it was interesting to get the lead actress, Christine DeBelle's take on that.
Where do you think it's going, Jim? Are people worried, or do we have something that's, I don't think you can go back again?
Yeah, I don't think we could go back, especially now with all the platforms like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, all the original programming. Is anyone who streams television shows is probably wondering, they're probably thinking, I've never seen so much nudity in my life. I mean, there are so many places now to see celebrities nude that didn't even exist 10 years ago. So the cat's out of the bag. We're not going back. I think the big change is just more with, and we talk about it now after the Me Too movement, with intimacy, coordinator who we interviewed, and how I think the difference is that there's more nudity now, but women are more empowered. They have more pull. They can things aren't forced upon them like as you could see when we interview actresses from the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was much different. And I think that's a great thing. But that doesn't mean there's less nudity. I think it's funny because there's more nudity. It's just done, I think, with the blessing of the actress versus it being forced upon them.
I think there's less gratuitous nudity, and again, actresses are sharp now, and the lawyers are even sharper. Was there any resistance from any of the celebrities you interviewed?
No, believe it or not, they all had stories to tell, and good or bad. It was very important for us to find out how the nudity affected not only their personal lives, but their careers. And basically, yeah.
I was very impressed that you got Sean Young. She doesn't talk to anybody.
That's good. Sean's a great interview. She's out there, which is great for an interview.
Yeah, she tells it like it is. Yeah.
Sean will not hold back, and those are the people you like. But it was great to interview maybe some people you were you don't expect to see, like a Camille Keaton from I Spit on Your Grave, or an Erica Gapp from Vixen. And Erica's a perfect example of someone who the nudity affected their personal life. And, seeing herself, as she talks about on the big screen at the premiere of Vixen in New York, led to a terrible disease where she almost died. And getting these people's, these actors and actresses' stories on, again, nudity affects everyone's career, because as a Diane Franklin from Last American Virgin noted, the first 3 films I did, I was naked. And how I didn't want to just be known as the actress that does nudity. And to kind of break away from that was really important for her. But as opposed to someone like, Pam Grier, who did a lot of nudity in these blaxploitation or women in prison films, and getting her perspective was, that's the way it was. You do a women in prison film, there's showers. And women don't, go in the showers fully clothed, and how nudity is essential. So it's always fascinating to find out a take from an actor or actress where they take the role and they know there's nudity because it's essential to who they're playing. Or to, like Irina Riffel, if you're going to play a stripper in Showgirls, you're going to be naked.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that Tracy Lords, survived, everything that she did, and she's got such a great sense of herself.
Yeah, Tracy was a really cool interview to get, and we obviously stayed away from her past because that's not something we were talking about, but her going mainstream. She was one of the very few to move from the adult world to mainstream. But then when you get into a Roger Corman movie, there's going to be some nudity. That sort of is, what you're getting into. But after she did that, she essentially really didn't do nudity again, which was fascinating. And even in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, she doesn't get naked. Yeah. And other actresses do.
Well, again, the name of the film is Skin, A History of Nudity in the Movies. It is everywhere. It's a great educational film, although probably not for little kids, that kind of way. But if you're looking at the history of film, this is certainly a huge part of it. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Oh, thank
you very much.
This celebrity interview is sponsored by...
I'm Annette Civarella with Pia Anderson Moss Hoyt, Utah's leading entertainment law firm, serving clients nationwide. We provide solid, attentive representation focusing on minimizing risk, reducing cost, and protecting the reputation and privacy of our clients. Our goal is to provide you with the legal representation you need to make the right decisions and to protect you and your creative works. Call or email me for a free consultation.